I'm Dylan, and I'm going to talk today about my final project for MDC 211, Intro to Digital Sound. So for this one I worked with my MIDI DJ controller, and I brought everything into Max from the controller, and I also used an instrument I already made in Max, which was using an Xbox controller. And so I think I'm going to do a quick run through of how the patch works and what everything does. I'll try to cover everything. There's a lot that I made it do. So to start, I took out all the MIDI data from my MixTrack Pro using MIDI parse, and that's inside of this giant encapsulation right here. And that took a while. So that's basically all the stuff that I could get out of it. I didn't use everything, but I used most of it. I was using MIDI parts and route. And then I sent all those to different things. So each button does a different thing, and I'll explain that in detail more, but each one of these just sends it to somewhere else, or it's like a sub patch that does something specific to make that control work the way that I wanted it to. Anyway, so I also, just while we're on the topic of MIDI, I used MIDI out back to my controller so that I could have the LEDs light up when I push certain buttons in certain ways. So I had like visual cues, so I didn't have to depend completely upon Max. So this is all the stuff for that. I didn't do everything in LEDs, and not everything on here has LEDs, but I did most of what needed to be done. Or I wanted to do. Okay, and then I built this thing, which is, it synthesizes from sine waves and white noise different instruments, so, or different drums. It does the kick, the snare, closed hat, and open hat. So the first ones, you have frequency, then amplitude for the kick, because I didn't need any white noise for that. Then you have the frequency, amplitude, and cutoff for the snare, so the white noise gives it kind of a sound that would make sense for a snare. Closed hat and open hat are pretty much all white noise. And then, yeah, that's about it. And this is being controlled up here by a matrix, which I can click in there and fill it in, and then I can select different presets with my controller over here. So, I only have 3 set up. And then, so that's the left side of, that's what's going into the left side of the deck. So I set it up so that I can record anything that goes through here using this sub patch I created, which basically when I push a button on my mixer, it will record on the next bar. So once it counts through 4, and then it starts at 1 or 0, and here it's 0, again, then it will record that next section, and then so it will be record on next, will check when I push that button, and then it will say record now, and then it will turn off, and there will be nothing recording. I actually use this for my midterm, something like this. I edited it a lot, and so I also have it to where the pitch knob over here pitches on the mix track, and then I can, so it records a second one, and I can fade between the two recordings, the recording and the live, by using one of this over here, on here. This is the button for recording on the next one. Yeah, this crossfades between the two. And before it goes into this, it's actually going through either a flanger or a downsampling. And so I have this basically routes everything properly. I made that patch, the sub patch, and it routes. So when I hit load A over here, it will change which one's being selected to be changed. And then if I push effect on, it will light up that one, and then I can push it over again into another one on. So only one can be played at a time, which is fine with me because I didn't want to have a bunch of effects going at once, for the drums at least. And so yeah, from there then it goes into the left channel, so that's controlled by my gain over here. And so from there, okay, it kind of gets complex from here. It basically, it goes out to 2 different crossfaders. One, they're both inside here, I think. If I remember how I did this, yeah. They're in here. So there's one for queuing. So one sends it out to the the part of the sound card that goes to my headphones so I can listen to the track without it playing, so I can sync it up properly, and that's the one called queuing and routing inside of there. It explains that more. Yep. And then, okay, so that's how it gets into the mixer, and there's a couple other things that happen, so nonetheless, that's all details that are difficult to explain quickly. So I also have a new thing I created that just generates an interesting, like, FM synthesized waves. Sounds like that, and it just does random when I turn a knob on my controller. That's simple. That's just for background to make it more interesting. Then there's Indiana Tones, my other synth, which is in there right now. It's not playing anything. And that's going out into another one of the same thing that's on the other side. So this one records for twice the length, and that's all done with numbers. And it took a while to figure out all the details and get everything working properly using that. And then it goes through a filter, so I can filter at high pass and low pass over here. So that's this one's the low pass, this one's the high pass. And then this one controls the volume for the last thing I showed. And this is the one that you turn to generate random ones. So from there, it goes into a reverb that I took from the examples from Cycling 74 inside of Max MSP. So credits given to that. And then that goes into here and does the same thing the other thing does. So that's basically the flow of everything as far as how signals go through this and make it out to the speakers. So one set, there's two DACs, they're inside here, and one of them goes out to the back of my mixing deck, and then the other one goes out to the headphones, which I have right here. That back side, I don't know if you can see the red and white cables, probably not, is going into my speakers right there. Anyway, so that's how this all works, and everything can be tweaked inside these. You can set the BPM. It's set up to be 120 to begin with. That's what I kept it at. Anyway, so then you would push play to start everything, and it would trigger automatically, and it will stay in time over here, which took a while to figure out. So this will stay in sync. I can do 16th notes. I think 16th notes, quarter notes, and half notes. I didn't go beyond that because it was hard to get all the numbers figured out for that, and it was all I really needed. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to try to do something interesting with this that's not too long, because it's difficult sometimes to make it not be too long. Anyway, hope that helps explain things. If you have more questions, you can ask questions on there if you like it. It's for anyone who sees it. Yeah.